Getting around Sydney can sometimes suck, and traffic can be painfully slow. I'm currently driving from Sydenham to Chatswood in the north in peak hour traffic in Sydney.
I'm making the same journey via public transport, which means taking a traditional Sydney double-decker train.
It's taken us about 45 minutes to travel 20 kilometres, and unlike with Taylor on public transport, I needed to add costs of petrol and road tolls. But soon our travel time will halve, because our same journey on the new metro will only take 22 minutes.
In terms of the difference to people's journey times and the connectivity to new locations, I think it is the most significant change to how Sydney moves since the Harbour Bridge was built.
But the journey to get here wasn't easy.
In many ways, this project, or this rail line, could be the rail line that Sydney almost didn't get.
But against all the odds, our city is about to get a brand new metro line. Here's how it happened. My colleague Matt O'Sullivan's been writing about plans for the metro for years, so I sat down to ask him about it.
The genesis of Metro really goes back to 2006, when a bloke called David Richmond, who was responsible for the planning and the successful operation of this Sydney Olympics, really put on the table a major change to the way Sydney's rail network would operate, and that was the idea of a metro train lines. Those plans were canned by the Keneally government in 2008. Whilst it was a negative, it sort of gave transport bureaucrats a chance to pause and look at actually what kind of a rail or metro rail line they wanted. Up until 2011, the plans were for a double-decker rail line between Epping and Rouse Hill, and that was known as the North West Rail Link. In June 2012, Gladys Berejiklian, then Transport Minister, and Premier Barry Farrell called a press conference, and they put, for the first time, Sydney's Rail Future Plan.
Single deckers that can travel, that can carry more people, travel more quickly and disembark those people more quickly.
They also unveiled plans to actually extend that metro line across the harbour.
This comes at a huge cost. How did they afford it?
It's all very well having plans, but without the funding, these kind of things don't happen. The crucial moment was really in the 2015 election, when the then Baird government, the key election policy was to sell New South Wales's electricity assets.
So the state government wins the election, it privatises the electricity network, and almost overnight it has $7 billion in the bank for this project.
We have waited over 2 decades for this. The dithering is over, the time for action is here.
The initial budget for it was between $11.5 and $12.5 billion. Unfortunately, it has nearly doubled in price. It's going to be in the vicinity of $22 billion when it's completed. The engineering challenges is one of the marvels of this project. The idea that you're going to dig tunnels under the CBD sounds simple, but you've got to remember that the subterranean part of Sydney's CBD is littered with building basements, major utilities, the City Circle railway, along with things like the Cross City Tunnel. They really had to resort to keyhole surgery to build this. And you've got to also remember that it was a hugely different way of tunnelling or building a underground rail line versus what John Bradfield did back in the 1930s, when effectively they just dug up from the surface. So in other words, dug these big holes and then sort of covered them over. But if you move forward 80, 90 years, that's not possible just because of the growth of Sydney CBD over that period.
But Metro wasn't meant to go under the harbour at all. Originally, it was planned to go over the bridge.
Treasury officials, being very focused on saving taxpayer pennies, preferred the Metro rail line to go over the harbour. They had this idea that it would be cheaper. But they realised quickly that it would reduce the number of, obviously, the vehicles that could go over the Sydney Harbour Bridge, but it also posed issues in terms of the alignment of the Metro south of the bridge under the CBD. Probably the biggest contention was over whether or not a station should be built at Sydney University or should they put it at Waterloo. In 2015, The then Baird government decided to put a station at Waterloo with the idea of actually regenerating that part of the city.
And it's hard to overstate just how significantly this metro project is going to transform Sydney.
Through the peak hour, this new metro service will move 37,000 people. Now that's more than the Harbour Bridge and the Harbour Tunnel combined.
Probably for the first time this opens the way for people to think about, do I need a car? Can I exist in the city and just take public transport?